Chapter 4: Follow-through mindsets. Follow-through is 100% mental. It takes a cognitive effort to follow through on something, especially when you hit discouraging obstacles. Mindsets help with that. What is a mindset? A mindset is a set way of visualizing and approaching situations and problems. Certain mindsets are all it takes to find the will and motivation necessary to follow through on something. Gerald is an example of someone with a mindset that impeded with his progress. Gerald had many aspirations to create his own business. He was determined in spirit and relished the idea of one day being a well-known and rich entrepreneur like Steve Jobs. While he knew that success is not just something easy that anyone can grab, he did not realize how sometimes success calls for uncomfortable situations. When he actually endeavored to start his own business, he ran into a lot of situations that cause him fear. For example, he had to make a monetary investment and it terrified him to think that he may lose his money and never get it back. This fear made Gerald uncomfortable. Another thing he hated was having to conserve his money and cut expenses and luxuries he didn't need to devote more money to his startup. Living without the luxuries he was used to made him quite uncomfortable as well, so much so that he could not handle it. Instead of adapting to uncomfortable situations and embracing new things that made him feel scared, Gerald freaked out. He decided that the lifestyle of an entrepreneur was not worth it. He liked the idea but was not prepared for the reality. Finding out that starting up a new business was not all sunshine and rainbows made him give up on it. Instead of starting his dream company and having a shot at becoming the next Steve Jobs, Gerald settled back into the job that he hated simply because it was comfortable to him. He never amounted to much and never reached his dreams as a result. Gerald's mindset was negative, to say the least. He refused to deal with discomfort or make sacrifices that were mildly unpleasant for his dream career. He preferred what he knew over the unknown, even though what he knew did not satisfy him as much as his dream would have satisfied him. That mindset made him choose to approach the situation from the vantage point that it was all bad and not worth it. He focused on the negative and the discomfort and he refused to work around it. Gerald may have succeeded at his goal had he held a different mindset. But his collection of poor and inflexible mental habits caused him to approach problems incorrectly, which left him with no hope for success. He let himself fail by approaching problems in the wrong way and eventually giving up. Had he decided to become comfortable with discomfort, he never would have given up just because the going got tough at one point. He could have adjusted to the discomfort of making sacrifices and embracing unknown scary situations, which would have made him better able to found his business and become an entrepreneur. Mindset 1: It's worthwhile. Consider what the Chicago Consortium on School Reform, along with many other educational experts, says motivates students to persevere even when things become difficult at school. 3 concepts contribute to student success, which are easily transferable to our adult lives. The first concept is holding the belief that hard work can and will lead to improvement. No matter how hard things get, it is your efforts that will get you the results you desire, nothing else. Everything else is a byproduct of luck, the hard work itself is a prerequisite. Of course, hard work doesn't overcome everything, but it's an essential component that cannot be skipped. The second concept is having the confidence that you, and people like you, belong in school and that school is a place where you can thrive. You can apply this to settings outside of school. The heart of this concept is that you believe in yourself and that you are just as good as anyone else. Basically, you need to believe in your own abilities and trust in your opportunities. Don't create self-limiting beliefs that hold you back, such as thinking that you are not as good as everyone else. This belief is illustrated by feeling that you also have valuable input at a business meeting or that you have just as much ability to handle a client as everyone else in the office. The final concept is holding the belief that what you are doing is valuable and relevant to your goals. Why would you stick with doing something if you don't see how it benefits you or helps you reach your goals? That would undermine entire chapters of this book. Understanding why you do something and how it fits into the big picture of what you are trying to accomplish makes it seem more worthwhile. You won't want to quit an endeavor if you think that it is getting you somewhere. You don't even have to see instant gratification and goal completion to know that you are on the right track. Assigning value and remembering how each thing you do ties into your main goal is very important because it helps you feel that you are doing well just by working. There is a point to everything you do, so every action you take is valuable. An example of this concept at work would be when you feel that the classes you are taking for your degree are pointless. Remember that they are not pointless, because they are leading to your graduation, which in turn will lead to your dream job in the field of your interest. These concepts can help you because they lend value and meaning to your work, and they can make you feel like you are making a difference just by following through and executing. Mindset 2. Comfort with discomfort. Another critical mindset is believing that your journey to success will become supremely uncomfortable at times, so you need to get comfortable with discomfort. Following through is never comfortable because it asks you to do things that are unfamiliar and new. To be successful and never give up, you need to minimize negative consequences of uncomfortable situations by getting immunized to the sense of discomfort. Sometimes, you feel the need to avoid something that will lead to success out of discomfort. Maybe you are avoiding extra work because you are fatigued, or you are avoiding talking to new people because it makes you nervous. You are actively shutting out success because you want to avoid being uncomfortable for a little while. Therefore, overcoming your instinct to avoid things just because they are uncomfortable for you at first is essential. Change is always uncomfortable, but it is key to doing things differently in order to find that magical formula for success. Try doing new things outside of your comfort zone. Do something new, try to learn new skills, talk to new people, and practice new actions that you are bad at until you are good at them. Expose yourself to new situations and things. The unfamiliarity will feel very uncomfortable, but you will not be able to expand your horizons and achieve success any other way. The more you do things that make you uncomfortable, the more comfortable you become with discomfort. You will find that discomfort is a temporary emotion that leaves with exposure to the situation. The benefits of being uncomfortable far outweigh the mild and fleeting unpleasantness of the sensation. Your mind will come to stop fearing discomfort so much when it realizes that discomfort does not actually hurt you. Meanwhile, staying comfortable by only doing what you know is a bad idea. It is the recipe for complacency and for staying static. You will not make any changes if you do what you always do. Don't ever give up on things just because they call for some change and discomfort. Discomfort is merely your fear instinct at play and does not actually hurt you, so getting comfortable with it is a good idea. You can choose to stay home and not meet new people, or you can choose to go out and make valuable connections that will help you reach your goals. You can choose to never learn a new language, or you can choose to learn it and find a wealth of new business opportunities, such as fun jobs overseas or well-paying jobs in translation. By repeatedly going to language classes and talking to new people, you will become conditioned to the sensation of going out of your comfort zone. Thus, you will become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Then you will stop fearing discomfort and you will open yourself up to some positive changes in your life. Just push yourself consistently every day and try new things to expand the edges of your comfort zone and make your life what you dream about. Mindset 3. Allow learning. This mindset entails developing the viewpoint that following through and finishing equals learning and evaluating yourself. You are essentially testing and scoring yourself based on your progress. Giving up is an automatic failure. When you finish something, on the other hand, you ace the test. You get to see how you do and you get to evaluate your performance. You also gain a lot of valuable skills and information that can help form your success and enable you to try again with better success should you ever fail at something. You only learn certain things if you see them through to the end. You are in a constant state of seeking information and knowledge, which you can only gain when you complete a project in its entirety. Otherwise, you don't catch the full glimpse of how things work. You get to learn about what it takes to finish something and what you are made of if you follow through. If you don't follow through, then you don't learn all that you have to do and you don't learn anything about yourself except that you are lazy or afraid or a failure. You can also teach yourself what doesn't work. If you follow through to the end and still don't succeed, you can evaluate your work and see where you went wrong. Then you can avoid that issue in the future. You can become more successful in the future as a result. View life as a series of lessons that you can use for future betterment. Viewing your endeavors as quests for knowledge can make challenges seem less daunting. It takes the fear out of failing because you still gain knowledge. You will be less inclined to just give up when faced with a challenge because you instead want to learn how to work around the challenge. You want to see what happens when you try something to overcome the challenge. You will gain no knowledge if you don't follow through, so you have to have the mindset to leap over challenges more fearlessly. One way to adopt this mindset is to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? That breeds a thirst for knowledge, which can be infinitely more motivating than any other mindset. You get curious and you want to see what the finish line looks like. You want to gain the experience that your endeavor can give you, so you go after follow-through in order to get that experience. Mindset 4. Distress. Stress affects how much willpower and self-control you have. You may not be consciously aware, but think about how little you can get done if you're stressed out or anxious. Even more so if you're simply tired and fatigued. Your working spirit is more delicate than you might imagine, which is why it's important to protect it under stress. An Australian study showed that students who were stressed because of their exams neglected healthy habits like maintaining a proper diet, getting enough sleep, and exercising. They also smoked more, consumed more caffeine, struggled with controlling their emotions, and paid less attention to household chores, self-care habits, commitments, and spending. It's easy to conclude the following: if you fail to take care of your mental health, your discipline and willpower quickly deteriorate. Prevent this situation by introducing stress-reducing habits in your life. Each day, spend at least 30 minutes doing relaxing activities. Meet with friends. Read a book. Listen to music. Meditate. Exercise. Cuddle. Take a walk in the woods. Whatever works for you to unwind and turn your brain off. It's important to relax when you can and overall be aware of your affect, the psychological term for the emotions you are feeling and overall temperament. Why? Because negative affect is among the most important triggers of self-control failure. For instance, depressed people desire specific things that bring immediate gratification and procrastinate or avoid any activity that involves effort. Emotional distress causes a behavioral shift toward immediate improvements in mood, and so people make poor decisions. This gets even worse when you realize that projection bias occurs every day without our conscious knowledge. Projection bias is when people falsely project their current feelings onto their future feelings. If you feel depressed, stressed, and tired, you imagine you'll feel that way next time you want to follow through and finish something. Of course, there's no correlation, but people routinely fail to see that there is no solid connection between these feelings. For example, people condemn junk food when they aren't hungry without realizing how much they want those delicious cookies once they are hungry. When you plan your diet, you are probably calm and in a mood to make drastic changes. You can also see projection bias as overenthusiasm that your current feelings are how you will feel about something forever. Point being, don't underestimate the impact of stress on your ability to follow through. Takeaways. Following through is 100% mental, which means it's probably a good idea to talk about the mindsets you attempt to embody. Mindset 1. It's all worthwhile. If you feel that your hard work will get you somewhere, you belong and are as good as anyone else, and you feel impact toward your overall goals, execution is easier to stick with. Mindset 2. Become comfortable with discomfort. Everything you want to do will have elements of discomfort, unless you just want to watch television all day by yourself. Thus, becoming used to this feeling allows you to tackle what you want without fear. Mindset 3. Without following through, there is no learning. Only when you finish something can you evaluate yourself and correct your errors. Embody an information-gathering mindset. Mindset 4. The detrimental power of stress and anxiety can't be overstated. Even being in a poor mood is dangerous to your productivity and follow-through. Be aware and take proactive measures to modulate your stress levels. Chapter 5. The Science of Smashing Procrastination. Procrastination is a huge problem in following through. How can you approach it effectively? Madeline has a big project coming up soon. Her deadline is in a week. She knows that to meet this deadline, she has to complete 15 pages of code a day. But when it comes down to it, she just cannot work. So she puts it off, planning to write 30 the next day to make up for lost progress. Then she can't write 30 pages, so she puts it off and now has to write 45. Now she is right on her deadline with almost no code written. She pulls an all-nighter and sends in a code that is rife with errors. She ran into many challenges with this code that she did not have time to solve because she was so far behind in work. The client rejects the code and is not happy. Madeline just earned a bad review and no repeat client. Michelle works on the same types of projects. Unlike Madeline, Michelle understands what her challenges may be. She breaks the work into small, manageable parts and writes what she can each day and gives herself rewards for every section she completes. Usually she is able to meet or exceed the 15 pages minimum quota that she has set for herself. At the end of the week, she compiles the code with no errors and sends it to her client. He is very happy to have a working code that runs well and he pays her well. She earns a 5-star review and the client is eager to hire her again for future projects. The difference between these two coders is that Michelle succeeded at her project by not procrastinating. She used a system called temptation bundling to ensure that she did not put off work. That gave her plenty of time to not only write code but to find and fix bugs. Madeline did not use this foresight, so she produced poor quality work. You can see how procrastination leads to intense stress, frustration, and sloppy work. We all know what procrastination is. But why is such a common issue in people trying to meet deadlines and get quality work done? There are some answers regarding this covered by behavioral psychology. The main component in this self-defeating habit is called time inconsistency. This is where humans value immediate and instant gratification over long-term rewards. Imagine that you have two selves, a present self and a future self. In this instance, they are completely different people with different desires that do not overlap. When you make goals, you are making plans for your future self. It is easy to plan for what is best for your future self. You can see what you need in the future and you want that, so you plan for it. Researchers have found that envisioning your ideal future reality is quite easy. However, only your present self can actually do anything. To make goals reality, your present self has to take action. Sadly, your present self wants rewards now. It does not want to wait to see the results in the future. So it wants to avoid having to do work for long-term goals, favoring instead tasks that reward you right now. For example, you want to get a big project done to make money, but you really need a nap. You are going to choose the nap over work because that's an immediate reward for your present self. Meanwhile, you are hurting your future self by napping instead of working. Your future self wants goals that pay out at some future date after work performed in the present. The present self wants rewards that pay out now, which in turn often hurt your chances to get your future self its long-term rewards. The best way to counteract time inconsistency is to move future long-term rewards into the present more effectively. That way, your present self sees the benefit and wants to stick to the long-term program. Waiting for a future reward is often not sufficient to motivate your present self because your present self does not want to wait. Temptation bundling. Temptation bundling is an excellent and efficient way to kill procrastination and increase productivity by combining present and future selves and their conflicting needs. This takes the above concept and introduces the means to reducing temptation to neglect your future self in the present moment. Conceived by behavioral Katie Milkman at the University of Pennsylvania, temptation bundling is a way to blend both future and present self needs by making future rewards more immediate. You give yourself instant gratification in the present while also achieving goals that benefit your future self in the long term. It's simpler than it sounds. Basically, you make a positive, but difficult, behavior or habit in the long term feel good at the present moment as well. Think eating Twinkies while working out while watching TV, or doing work while soaking your feet in a salt bath. These are examples of ways to make the long term feel good at the present moment. There is no need to suffer in the present to get something done for your future self. If you do suffer, then you will lose all motivation and procrastinate. So find ways to bundle your temptations with your long-term goals. In other words, pair your obligations with instantaneous rewards. Milkman found that up to 51% of her study participants were willing to exercise with temptation bundling. It is an effective means to correct procrastination habits. You should make a list with 2 columns, one side being your guilty pleasures or temptations and the other side being things you need to do for your future self. Then figure out creative ways to link the 2 conflicting columns in harmony. Suppose you like chocolate, surfing, soccer, and running. But work, homework, and piano lessons stand in your way. How might you combine things to make the unpleasurable more tolerable? Small, easy increments. Another way to mitigate procrastination is to start in small, easy increments. Really, you want to break tasks down into minuscule, microscopic components. This makes your first step seem incredibly easy, and taking that first step is the hardest part with procrastination. Think of procrastination as an enormous wall you must climb. If you collect enough small pebbles and rocks, you can eventually create a step for yourself high enough to simply walk over the wall. You can collect boulder the size of your torso, and you may get the same result, but it's a much tougher road. Just make sure your barriers to starting are extremely low. For example, you can even complete 95% of a task and leave the remaining 5% as a starter task for later, so you can get back in the swing of things easily. Doing this breaks inertia and enables you to gain forward momentum. You gain momentum by working and creating work that you can build off of later as you tackle the harder parts of the project. Small and easy increments involve two key parts. The first part is to break your tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. Don't view your task as one huge boulder that you have to get done all at once. Rather, view it as a series of steps to take from point A to point B. Your mind will thank you for this as things suddenly seem easier and more doable. An example of this is to view the writing project you have ahead of you as a series of paragraphs only 100 words long. Maybe you have to write 100 pages, but don't look at it that way. Look at it as taking baby steps with short paragraphs. After you complete so many paragraphs, you have written your 100 pages. Small tasks build up rapidly, especially when you are not procrastinating, so create tiny, mentally palatable steps that you can take to build something monumental and reach your ultimate goal. A book is composed of 2 words, after all. The second part is to start with the easiest tasks first. This may seem counterintuitive. Why would you leave all the hard stuff for later? Remember that procrastination is about making the first step as easy as possible. You are encouraging yourself and proving to your mind that this task is more than possible with each easy task that you tick off your to-do list. By the time you reach the harder tasks, they will seem more attainable and surmountable to your mind since your mind has already done a lot of work. Inertia is the force that builds as you are at rest. On the other hand, momentum is the drive to keep moving forward until you get everything done. Your task here is to break inertia and gain momentum. Small and easy increments accomplish that because nothing else will get you moving more quickly. Back to the writing example, consider how you can do the easy parts, such as the outline and the research notes. Write the parts that take the least effort first. Get the bulk of it done, the easy and simple things that are not hard but that take up a lot of time. Leave the hardest 5% of the writing for last for when you have momentum. You will not feel so frustrated and overwhelmed, and thus you will not consider this writing task a huge sacrifice that taxes your present self. You will accomplish it and not suffer, which offers some pleasure to your present self. Consider risks. A final tactic is to consider what may go wrong. Being hypervigilant about what may go wrong is a tactic employed by highly successful and productive people like Bill Gates. Jim Collins explores this tactic in his book Great by Choice. Referring to this as productive paranoia, he discusses how people like Bill Gates were constantly paranoid about what may go wrong. By always planning for the worst and trying to avoid the worst, these people actually ended up working extremely hard. They were always focused on their projects just to avoid the worst possible scenarios. As a result, fear motivated them and kept them from procrastination. Be paranoid and start to question what could go wrong. Think about making contingency plans and working to avoid certain challenges or problems. Thinking about what can go wrong can serve to make you work to avoid things going wrong. As a result, you become more productive just because you are afraid and hypervigilant at the moment. Be sure to ask yourself how you might lose out if you delay taking action at this moment. The opportunity may go to someone more proactive. Your opportunity may even simply go away, since many things are time-sensitive. Consider how disastrous it could be to your success. The fear of losing out will motivate you. Sure, fear is not a pleasant motivator. But if it works, why not use it? Knowing that you are in danger of some kind kicks you into overdrive. Procrastination comes from boredom, complacency, and safety, so stripping those feelings away can leave you paranoid and eager to avoid bad consequences. Of course, fear is not a fun motivator, so only use this tactic in small, safe doses. Doing it, our opening example of Madeline could have used fear to help her detect possible mistakes and thus to motivate herself to write her code each day. Using fear, she would have planned to leave plenty of wiggle room in her schedule so that she could properly compile the code and ensure that there were no errors in her code writing. She would have anticipated possible errors and would have worked each day in order to give herself time to catch and fix these errors. Takeaways. Tackling procrastination is similar to pushing Sisyphus's stone. You can beat it back for a bit, but it's so natural that you will never be fully rid of it. The problem is typified by time inconsistency, where we comprise two selves that don't have overlapping desires. One wants gratification in the future and the other wants it right now. Temptation bundling is an effective method to battle procrastination. It consists of combining your unpleasurable tasks with something pleasurable. This mainly works because you are battling time inconsistency and giving both selves what they want simultaneously. Start easy and small. Procrastination thrives off inertia. Therefore, you need to make the path to motion and action as easy as possible. Then eventually you can gain momentum, the opposite of inertia. Sometimes beating procrastination just requires a kick in the pants. Fear and productive paranoia can do that to you. If you are so fearful of the negative repercussions you will face, then you will certainly be spurred into action. But this is not a method to use very frequently.